Today we are talking to Massillon Police Chief Jason Saintenoy and his vision for the safety and the security of the city of Massillon.
I am a deputy SWAT operator.
I'm a mechanic.
I'm a customer service associate.
Hi, I'm Sheriff George Maier. Here at the Stark County Sheriff's Office, we are family. We support each other, we lean on each other, and we learn from each other each and every day. There are countless ways to serve Stark County within our agency, and one may just be perfect for you.
I am the Information Technology Director.
I am a K-9 technician.
I'm a maintenance technician.
Learn more on how you can join our team today and be the difference.
Welcome to On Our Watch. I'm your Stark County Sheriff George Maier, and joining me today is my friend Massillon Police Chief Jason Saintenoy. Jason, thank you for being with us today, and thank you for sharing the opportunity for our viewers to get to meet you and learn a little bit more about their new Massillon Police Chief. I know you've been settled in the position for a few months now. Hopefully you're getting your feet on the ground and going, but just as we get started, can you start off by telling us a little bit for our viewers about yourself, your family? Who is Jason Saintenoy?
Sure, Sheriff. First, let me just say that it's a pleasure to be here, and I appreciate being given the opportunity to address you and address people who might want to know a little bit about me. And so, with that being said, first and foremost, I'm a family man. I'm married. I have 2 children, a little boy and a little girl. They keep me busy most of the time. Every now and then I feel like I come to work to get a break, but anybody with a family understands that. I graduated from Norton High School in 1999. Shortly thereafter, I joined the military, active duty for 4 years. I served aboard the USS Anzio in the Navy. Great part of my life. I loved every minute of it, and I would do it again in a heartbeat if I had to. When I got out, I started my law enforcement career after the academy. I actually started the academy as soon as I got out of the Navy, and I field trained for free on my own time for New Franklin Police Department. They took me on as a part-time employee, and for a few months there, I was taking tests, and I took Massillon's test, and I was hired as a full-time officer, and the rest is history, so to speak. It's been 17 years I've been with the police department.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah, and it feels like a blink of an eye, to be honest. But there's a lot to be done, and so the road ahead is long.
Well, one of the things I was going to ask you is how long you've been a member of the Massillon Police Department. You said 17 years, and I know that it really goes very fast. Based on my career, I've been doing this a little over 40 years, and I can tell you it's almost a blink of the eye. It really does go fast, your career. But leading up to your career, what things in your life, what influences made you think that you wanted to be a police officer?
So, when I was growing up, I always looked up to police officers. I was always taught to respect law enforcement. And when I went into the military and I lived that structured lifestyle, that very regimented lifestyle, it only made sense to me to get out and to get into some type of profession that had a set standard of guidelines and rules and structure, and I could not figure out a better place to be than a police department. And so I just thought that it would have been a natural transition for me to get into law enforcement coming right out of the military. And I think that's why we see so many law enforcement officers have a background in that. And although that's not necessary, I think it's just an easy transition for them. So,
well, I would agree with you, Chief. I think I told you before our segment started today, we have a significant percentage of our staff that are prior military. And from my perspective, just to share with you, if it's helpful or not, find people that come from the military are a little easier to train. They understand the regiment. While in law enforcement, we're not military, but we're paramilitary, and we follow some of the same structures that the military follows. So those are great candidates for us. We're going to talk a little bit later in our second segment about how to get great candidates, so we can talk a little bit about that. But I think a message certainly to our viewers today and to the community is, if you've been in the military service and you're mustering out, come see us, right? I mean, I'm sure you're recruiting. I know we're recruiting. Talk to us a little bit about how folks can come and contact you about a job.
So we usually have a complete section of our website dedicated to just hiring, and it has all the information and all of the things that you can take advantage of if you decide that you are interested in taking one of our civil service tests to become a police officer. One of those advantages for prior military is getting bonus points on top of your score at the end of taking that, and that's just a way for us to draw those folks in. But there's several other opportunities that we use to encourage people to take our tests. I'm a big proponent for education, and I know you are for training. I mean, you know, you just kind of took advantage of a situation to put a training center here in our city in Massillon that's, you know, you guys have started running. And so when I got out of the military, one of the things that I knew I wanted to do was continue my education. And I was able to continue my education while employed as a police officer and ended up achieving a bachelor's degree. And so anybody who has a bachelor's degree or an associate's degree can also get extra credit, bonus points on these civil service tests. It's another tool that we use to get people to take, you know, to take our tests.
That's fantastic. You know, one of the things we've done, and I know you guys have it as well, is tried to create incentives that attract somebody to the workforce. Over the past several years, it's been a little difficult to attract folks to the profession, and that's a whole other issue. But I think just holistically, folks are trying to find people to work, and it's been a challenge. And so we have to kind of stay competitive, if you would.
Right.
And so it sounds to me like with some of the things you have in place, the credit for military service, the credit for a bachelor's degree or higher in the hiring process certainly are great incentives for people to come see you and the folks at the Massillon Police Department for work experience and a job. So, and I bet it's a great place to work. Talk to us about that.
The city of Massillon is a great place to work. We have benefits that I think set us apart for our employees at the department specifically from other cities. And I know that because we've done everything we can to compare ourselves with other agencies in the county to be competitive. But one of the things that I think it truly is our selling point is we have a lot of diversity in our community, and we have a lot of good, hard-working, blue-collar people that are trying to raise families, that are engaged with the community.
Right.
They support the police. We've had some tough times in the past 5 to 7 years in law enforcement across this country, and I have never felt anything but gratitude from the community towards our police department. And I think that's because we've built a relationship, and they are grateful for what we do, but we're grateful for them to have our support. When I first got hired as a police officer, the chief that had hired me said, "Jason, how do you get 30,000 plus people to basically take orders from a department of only, maybe 50 officers?" And I said, "I'm not sure." I said, that sounds like a losing battle. And he said, "It's because they respect us."
Right.
You lose that respect, then it becomes very difficult.
Absolutely. So that's part of your challenge as the police chief. You mean you're the conductor now. You're the police chief, and you are conducting the orchestra. The orchestra is the rest of your agency. And so part of your challenge is to make sure that those folks that you put out in the community each and every day are listening, have a keen ear to what their community needs, and I think that's very important. You touched on something about when you said they trust us, right? And so as we've traveled this journey in law enforcement over the last number of years of challenges, where I see the agencies that have fared the best and have been able to stay in contact with the community are the agencies that really legitimately had a trust with their community, and so your community falls into that category. Having that trust before there's a crisis is a huge undertaking, because the folks know that they can come to you and they can trust you to do what? The right thing. And that's what folks in the community are looking for. They're looking to be treated as a community member. They're looking to be treated fairly, and by having that trust, you've already ensured them that that's what you're going to do. So hats off to you guys and your entire team, because I know it's not just you, right?
No.
It's, as I said, you're like in my position, I'm the conductor, you're the conductor. It's not just you, it's getting the team, if you will. Put this in a, because Stark County is a football county, right?
Right.
Let's put this in the perspective of football. You get the team to, to all be on the in the same playbook and play by the same rules, right?
Right.
And so in doing that, that's part of your challenge. So we thank you for taking on that
it's our
responsibility. It's important to keep that going, and that's why we do some of what we do here today. Is to make sure the community understands what we're doing and how we're servicing the community. Now, I have a connection to the Massillon Police Department, and I know you're going to think it's my son.
No,
it's my late father. Started in the Massillon Police Department in the mid-'50s. I grew up in Massillon. I'm a Massillon guy. Grew up, 4 blocks from downtown.
Yeah.
Had 2 paper routes, and all my paper routes took me right downtown. And I always tell my buddies that was the best paper route because you had all the establishments you went to. Instead of getting a tip, they give you a candy bar or a sandwich or something like that.
Right.
If you went into the restaurant, they were giving you something to eat for lunch for your tip. So it was a great experience for me growing up in Massillon. But being that my late father was part of the fabric of the Massillon Police Department, I certainly have affinity towards the Massillon Police Department and want to see you guys be successful. But tell us a little bit about your structure, because if I think back, my father retired in 1984. And if I think back to when he retired, I know what the structure was then. I know what the structure was when I served as your safety director for a short period of time. Tell me what it is now and what's your vision for the structure of your agency.
So the way it is right now is first of all, let me just say that we are in a transition period. And that transition period will really start to get ramped up and to be put into effect as we bring on new officers, because our problems begin and end with staffing. And so while we're hiring right now, we are looking to change the structure of our command staff. And that basically what we have now is we have myself as the chief of police. I have a deputy chief underneath of me who holds a rank of captain, title of deputy chief, and we have 4 lieutenants at the police department right now. As of today, 3 of those lieutenants are shift commanders. They're holding down the fort every day, 24 hours a day, and they're conducting their shift to make sure that everything that gets done gets done. And we have another lieutenant who is in an administrative role. My goal is to have my deputy chief and 4 lieutenants as the command staff. Every shift will then have 2 sergeants, and the future holds a sergeant also in the DB running our detective bureau.
Sure.
So really, I want to put supervisors where they're needed most, and that's guiding the patrolmen in the detective bureau.
Sure.
I mean, it just makes sense to me that supervisors supervise, and I feel
well, you have to have supervisors. We understand that,
right.
But it's great that you're thinking outside the box in such a way that you're structuring your agency that fits your community, right?
Yeah.
You're talking about having a command staff that helps you run the day-to-day operations of the agency, no matter where they may be, no matter what their role is. But you also have supervisors on shift to help your men and women who are out there in the field each and every day dealing with community issues. And so it sounds to me like you got a great plan put together. It's great to have a plan, then you got to get it executed, right? So I think that's kind of what you're working on now, trying to get that executed so that it works for you and the community.
Right, and so the first portion of that has already occurred. We had a retirement. As of a week ago, we had 2 captains, and we were able to get through legislation passed where we were going to remove 1 captain through attrition, and just allow that last standing captain to be the deputy chief, and so the process has started.
Sounds like great work in progress. Hey, we are hiring. It takes a community to keep our community safe, and we want folks from our community to join us at the Stark County Sheriff's Office. We have positions available in a variety of sections. You may think you are suited for one of our jobs. Please get a hold of us. We're always hiring at the Stark County Sheriff's Office.
I am a school resource officer.
I am a deputy detective.
I'm Major C.J. Stantz.
One of my responsibilities is leading our deputies. Serving as a deputy includes a variety of duties, such as answering calls out on the road, engaging our community during events and other activities, providing security to our government facilities, working in our schools as a school resource officer, and so much more. The job is challenging, fast-paced, always changing, and truly rewarding.
Learn more on how you can join our team today and be the difference. Hi, and welcome back. Our guest today is Massillon Police Chief Jason Saintenoy, and we're really happy to have you with us, Jason. And Chief, we're going to continue our segment of talking to folks in the community about, what they can expect with the new leadership of the Massillon Police Department and how that better serves their community. We'll go back to where we had left off by telling our viewers a little bit, if you can, about the fast-paced, high-pressure of law enforcement. Things happen very quickly. You have to make decisions in a split second, and talk a little bit about how that impacts training and what you do as a police chief.
So, I was told at one time, once again, by another mentor, and I've had a lot of them throughout my careers, that law enforcement and police work in general can be long stretches of boredom that are abruptly interrupted by complete chaos. And you never know when that chaotic moment's going to come. And so the only way that we can prepare ourselves as officers or as law enforcement in general is to train for that. You hit the nail on the head. Training is so important. Whether it's football or police work, and they say you gotta practice for playing.
Sure.
The only way for us to do that is through training. And so,
well, I think you hit it on the head. I think the way to be successful is to continue to train, and I know you guys are doing that, and I think that spells volumes for your agency, but it also, that spills out into the community. That training will reverberate throughout your community as you have folks trained, properly for the positions they hold.
Right, and you mentioned before, you should be training before a critical incident.
Yes.
Not after. You never want to find your deficiencies after the event has occurred and you come back and, of course, critique and break down what you did and didn't do right. You have to prepare ahead of time. It's the only way we're going to be able to serve
Absolutely, and you try to do that the best you can. You cannot prepare for every scenario, obviously, but you try to do that. I've always been envious, 40-plus years doing this, I've always been envious of the fire service on how they train. They train very, very well, and hats off to them for doing that. Anytime they go to an incident, I don't care if it's a garbage can on fire, they come back to the fire station. What's the first thing they do? They clean their trucks up, and then they go in and they debrief. They maybe pour a cup of coffee and they talk about, okay, hey, you were a little too close, something could have, they debrief. In the law enforcement profession, and part of my thing about fast and furious, how things happen, we don't have time for that, unfortunately.
Right.
We run call to call. And I know with the shortages of manpower, that absorbs a lot of our time. And so to have that ability to train that way would be fantastic. And maybe we can get there in the future.
Right.
But for now, we can just continue to be envious of the opportunity the firefighters have to be able to come back and debrief and actually learn from what they did or didn't do right, and learn to do better. So, but we're working on it, right? We are working on it.
We have no choice but to, and it's all about time management. You have to make time for training sometimes, and then you have to use the time that you have, whether it's 10 minutes at roll call with a sergeant just saying, hey, in the event that you deal with this today, this is how you should handle it.
Absolutely, absolutely. And we try to keep our people abreast, and I think we do a good job, and I think that all across the county, agencies have done a better job over the last several years of training.
I agree.
I want to talk to you a little bit about collaboration and what that looks like with your agency, different things. Who are you collaborating with? How does that help the community? Just kind of let you talk a little bit about that.
Well, I mean, one of the things right now that we have going on, and you are well versed in this, is that we are working towards going to a new records management system, and that is for the community to understand. That's the way that we take the data that you give us for a report and we put it into a system that then generates that report. As of right now, a lot of the agencies in Stark County, they take that data from inside of their city or their township or their village or their jurisdiction, and they put it in, and they have this huge database with all this knowledge of different people, whether it be suspects or victims. But we don't share that. We're actually collaborating right now to get into this new records management system through a company called Tyler Technologies, where we are going to share data with other agencies in the community, including the sheriff's office. And so, you know, if you deal with a suspect in your guys' jurisdiction, sure. And we then look that individual up, we're going to see that you dealt with them, and vice versa. And that alone, we've seen this during 9/11 with not sharing data, and then how there can be consequences to that. And we've learned from that, and we're moving towards that right now. That's the #1 thing we have going on as far as collaboration goes.
Well, I'll tell you, it's important. I'm glad you brought that up. It's important because we're utilizing modern technology to sort and gather our data. By doing that, #1, we become more efficient. I'm talking about internally. You as an agency, me as an agency, we become more efficient for our communities. The other part of that is we become more transparent. We have that data available when people want to know information about a case. They have the ability to go in and look at that. We have public data available. It is at our fingertips now rather than in a file cabinet where we have to go search for it, right?
Right.
And so we're utilizing technology to better serve our community. At the same time, we're becoming more efficient and certainly more transparent. So I think it is a great initiative, and I'm glad you guys are part of that. I know there's a lot of work that went into this to get there, and we're getting there, and we're getting closer and closer to that end goal. And I'm thinking by midpoint of this year, we should see some light at the end of the tunnel, if you will, as it relates to that. And so folks, stay tuned, because it's going to impact our communities as well. They're going to be able to go on and search reports and find information that they think that's important to them at the time. And so thank you for doing that. I know it's a huge undertaking.
Well, the sheriff's office has spearheaded that, and then I think that we're, you know, it's going to be a benefit not just for the individual cities, municipalities. It's going to be great for the whole county. It just is. So
absolutely. Now, Chief, we talked a little bit, we brushed a little bit about how important training is. And you mentioned the training center here in Massillon, and I like the fact that it's right across the street for you guys.
So do we.
Because we really, really like that you use it, and we want you to continue using it. Talk about how that helps you and your agency, and also from that point, how it actually relates to the community.
So, I mean, one thing that comes into, pops into my head right away is that this, for the first time this year, our entire police department did their annual firearms qualifications just across the street. I mean, within walking distance. And it made our ability to, you know, to work it into schedule when we have staffing issues. We could do a couple officers at a time as opposed to having an entire shift of officers. We got officers out of the weather. We've shot at outdoor ranges before, and it's rained on us, it's snowed on us, it's been sunny, and that's all in one day.
Sure.
So we had an environmentally controlled area to do it. The training center has a great shooting range. And we were able to just take officers from shift, pull them off the road for a little bit, have them go over there with a firearms instructor, shoot, do their qualifications, and then even practice a little bit, and then go back to work in the road. So it's been a great benefit to us. Everyone at our department loves that it's right here.
Well, that's great. Let me tell you, I don't know if you guys have had a chance to use the Maier simulator yet. If you haven't, you're going to get the opportunity. You know, that's on the 3rd level over there. It's you know, a simulator that can simulate scenarios, so you can see how your officers are going to react. They can practice those scenarios. Certainly, you guys are welcome to take advantage of that, and I hope you do. The other thing that's coming for you guys, and kind of do a shameless plug right now, is we're going to have a driving simulator in there. That's coming probably in the next few months, so that when you have to do annual training for your folks, or if you have somebody that's having a little trouble driving, you can get them on that simulator and help them improve their skills in driving. So that's coming.
Yeah, we're looking forward to that.
We're excited about that. Hey, I want to talk just a minute about wellness and how important that is to you, me, and people in our profession right now. Unfortunately, the suicide rate in our profession is skyrocketing all across the country. And so we can't sit around on our hands and do nothing about that. So I want to, what are you doing, or what's some of the conversations within your agency on helping folks stay well?
Well, I think that the number one thing that most officers or anyone who is in law enforcement can do to find an even balance in their life between work and home is to remove yourself from the law enforcement environment from time to time and find something that you like to do. And it could be a number of things that's just not related to work. Spend time with your family. Go to the gym. Go on vacation. Go fishing. I mean, I could go on for
whatever it is, whatever your release is, right?
Yeah.
Find it and use it.
Right. And don't be the number one thing too. This goes along with that. Is that don't be afraid to step outside of your box and think that you can't have friends or that people can't relate to you if they're not a police officer.
Right.
I have a lot of friends in law enforcement. But every now and then I need to hang out with a buddy from high school who doesn't know anything about law enforcement and just
disconnect, right?
Correct. Yeah, it's no different than unplugging from our cellular phones or anything like that. Every now and then you need to disconnect from the job, decompress, and then you're ready to start fresh the next day.
Recharge your batteries a little bit.
Right.
I'll tell you, one of the things that's been helpful for me, first of all, I think exercise is very helpful. It's kind of an outlet. You go and blow off some steam and recharge your batteries. I think it's very helpful, and I encourage men and women in our profession to find their release. If it's not exercise, find something. One of the things we do oftentimes, my wife and I will go out to dinner with a colleague or a friend or somebody that is in law enforcement, associated with law enforcement, and we'll have a rule. 10 minutes, that's all you get to talk about law enforcement, the first 10 minutes. And then my wife will, put the white flag up and say, okay, that's it. We're not talking about the job anymore. It's time to disconnect. That's been helpful for me. So I have to thank my wife for giving me that rule in my home.
Yeah.
But it does help because especially when you're in the position as a chief or the sheriff or a high-level position where you have a lot additional responsibilities, you really have to find that time to disconnect. Right. Well, Chief, as we start to come to a close here, if you could just sum up, what's your hope for the police department in the next 12 months?
So, in the next 12 months, my number one goal is to get us staffed. We owe it to the community to have enough people that when they call, they know we're coming. And right now, we'll always show up. But boy, it would be great if we could just make it a lot easier on the troops and have enough people that it's not such a burden to work long shifts.
Absolutely,
and,
absolutely.
So.
And I will tell you, that's one of the problems that's plaguing all of us. If there's anything we can do at the Sheriff's Office to help you with that, aside from giving you our people, we're happy to do that. So to our guest today, Massillon Police Chief Jason Saintenoy, my friend, thank you. And to the members of our community, thank you for tuning in. If you have any questions or comments about this show or past shows, or topics that you'd like to see discussed in the future, please email me. And I'm your Stark County Sheriff, George Maier, and this is On Our Watch.